Hey guys, Krootman here. When you're on a budget and you're trying to build a PC for about the cost of a brand new PS5, you've got to get creative. In order to stretch your budget to get the maximum price to performance, aesthetics have to go. You got to get creative in where you buy the parts. Look no further than old crypto mining hardware parts. That's right, this PC is built from a majority of old parts from crypto mining rig builds. So stay tuned after a word from our sponsor to see how I did it. This video is sponsored by PC Bros, the latest sponsor of the channel. PC Bros offers custom gaming PCs that fit anyone's budget, like this Xeon E5 1650 with an RX 6600. This unconventional build is where you will typically find fantastic value. This PC can run all major esports titles from Halo Infinite at 100 FPS to Fortnite at 120-ish FPS. Even a AAA game like Helldivers 2 will run at an average of 60 FPS, which for Helldivers is fantastic when compared to what higher end GPUs will run this game at. Click the link above to check it out. If you don't like this build or any of the other builds on their site, they offer a build consultation service to design the perfect build to meet your needs. And on top of that, they offer a 1-year warranty. So if you have an issue with your build, you can skip the long wait times going to the manufacturer and call PC Bros and they will take care of it for you. And rest easy knowing PC Bros has you covered, and use code Krootman for 2% off your next order. But I think what a lot of people don't know is that there are a lot of other parts that come with crypto mining can't sell because nobody's really interested in motherboards, power supplies, RAM sticks, or anything like that. And you can scoop them up, it feels like stealing at the prices I got them for incredible deals. And I want to go over those. Let's start with the big one for me. This motherboard, this ASRock B350 Pro. This thing was crypto mining for years. You can get these things for around, I don't know, probably like 40 to 60 bucks. You can even see a fly in there. This one I got basically for free in a deal. For the terms of this video, we're gonna say about 60 bucks because I looked for some of these around and that's what I saw them for. And you can BIOS update these as long as you have an older CPU around, or you can borrow one from a friend, or you can maybe ask the person to update the BIOS. And I was able to pair it with this CPU. This is a Ryzen 5600X. These go for about $100 used right now. Sometimes you get them for less. We're going to say $100 for the purposes of this video. And it works just fine with this B350 Pro 4 motherboard. Now, I really like AM4. I think you get the best value to performance with a CPU like this, and it does give you an upgrade path to a 5800X 3D if you want in the future. But honestly, this should be more than enough for what you need. To cool it, we're using one of those cheap $15 coolers I found on Amazon. It's a Dark Rock. I don't even know what the brand is. It's definitely not from Be Quiet. Jay's 2 Cents did a video on it. This was actually in an old CPU mining build I had. We're just going to go with the $15 price from Amazon. These things are decent. It'll get the job done and it'll perform better than the stock cooler with the 5600X. Then we've got the power supply. This was from a CPU miner as well. He didn't even have all the cables for it. I got this in basically in a throw-in. But you could probably find power supplies from miners for, something like this, probably like 20 to 40 bucks. Obviously with missing cables it cost even less. And I actually found these Type 4 cables that were tossed into something else. You can basically go online with Corsair and see what cables are compatible with this brand, and I found that it was Type 4, and I'm sure you could find these in like a bundle, or you could find them online for silly cheap. So we can call this, I don't know, we can call this 40 bucks, which is about what you could get something like this for. So we're doing pretty well in terms of price. Next, crypto miners, when they mine, they need at least they need 1 RAM stick to get their rigs working. If it's a CPU miner, they need 2. I got these in mining rigs. These are Corsair. This is Corsair 2400 megahertz 16 16 16. 39 is their timings. These will work just fine. You can value these at say 20 bucks, 10 bucks a RAM stick. In terms of 1440p and 1080p gaming, honestly the timings won't really make that much of a difference in the budget space. Next we got a hard drive, an SSD. This one is basically just for Windows. It's 128. It'll be just fine for just a Windows install. Call that 10 bucks. These, you got to be a little more tricky with your M.2s. This is, I think this is Gen 3. This is a 1 terabyte because Call of Duty takes up a ton of space. And you can get these for about 40 bucks used. give or take, is about what I paid for them. Next, we have this. This is the coolest, one of the coolest things. So, in terms of a budget build, right? You need to save money. That's the big thing, right? You gotta make compromises for budget builds. So this is a case from 3D Printmaster that it's essentially like a test bench, or it's designed to do these mine these coins where you have like CPUs and GPUs. This thing was 15 bucks. If you use my code, it goes down to like 12 bucks. I'll have a link for that down below. And this thing is fantastic. It will support larger GPUs and you can use it as a case. You know, when you get to the budget space, it doesn't matter if it's pretty, it matters if it works, and it matters how cheap it is. And that is the big thing in my opinion. So 15 bucks for a case, you can't beat that. And then we've got a simple power switch. And finally, the GPU. So ironically, I got an amazing deal off of this, but this wasn't from a miner. I got a 3080 Zotac for $300. You can find these for about $300 to $320-ish. If you get lucky, you'll have to look a little bit. But I would recommend trying to find these from miners first. You know, you want to ask them questions like how they stored it, how long did they use it, etc., etc. I'll put a link to that video right up top. So, you know, you want to ask your questions, but it's okay buying GPUs off miners. It really is. But like I said, this one was actually bought off a gamer. The RGB flickers, I don't really care. This thing works and it works great. So all in all, the total for this whole build is about $590 for this entire build, which is a little bit more than the cost of a PlayStation 5, and it will absolutely destroy a PlayStation 5. Now granted, we've made a ton of compromises in terms of aesthetics, so let's get this built and then we're going to do some benchmarks and test it. All right, so let's get to it right now. Here she is in all her glory. The only build notes are that I did have to replace the 750 watt power supply from Corsair, although that was more my fault than the PSU's fault, and I had to add a $10 anti-sag bracket for the GPU, as the GPU was a little heavier than this case is designed to hold. But I've had this thing built for about 3 days now, and I've had zero issues. The anti-sag bracket is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Now, obviously we sacrificed a lot on the looks, but when you see the performance of this computer, you will understand why. Now, we're going to be pairing this with a $15 mouse and keyboard combination from Five Below. Yeah, you heard me, Five Below, because we're trying to get the best value for our buck, as well as pairing this with the Gigabyte M27q, which can be had for about $220 on Amazon. I'll put a link down below. So you can get this entire build for about $850. It's very, very hard to match that value. And frankly, if you want to save even more money, you can get a cheaper monitor. But this is my 1440p go-to monitor of choice. Alright guys, let's start off with the Steel Nomad score. You can see that I got 4,478. You can see that's my score. The average for the same specs is 4,435, and the best is 5,035. Now keep in mind, I did not do any overclocking in MSI Afterburner or on the CPU, as I just wanted to show you what this thing can do stock, and frankly, I don't really think you're going to get much performance from overclocking the CPU. And overclocking, you can overclock and undervolt the GPU if you so desire, and maybe I'll do that in a later video. So I'm only going to test 2 games just to give you an idea of what this thing can do. We're going to do COD Modern Warfare 3 to cover the esports side, and we're going to do Cyberpunk 2077 to cover high-end demanding side with medium ray tracing enabled. So you can see right here, I'm using ultra settings for this game, and we're getting 144 FPS in the benchmark. The low 1% is 85 FPS. The bottleneck is 100%, as it's unsurprisingly going to be the GPU and the CPU that are both probably bottlenecking it, which is just fine. I think 114 FPS is more than playable at 1440p with those settings, and if you want to increase the FPS, you are more than welcome to tone the settings down. But personally, as you guys know, if you follow my videos, I prefer to test with DLSS off, and I prefer the settings to be as high as they can go without costing me performance problems. And I think that ultra settings is where I want to be. But like I said, feel free to lower the settings to increase the FPS. Here's a quick screen grab of what Call of Duty looked like in game. I was averaging between 130 and 140 FPS. The GPU was about 70 degrees. I had it on stock fan curve, and then I put it up to about a static 65% fan speed. Couldn't really hear it from how far away I was. Didn't really have any issues there. But you can see 140 FPS. Like I said, this is more than playable, and that's actually my target FPS in pretty much every resolution that I play at. And like I said, I do prefer performance over FPS, but I still think that is just fine, especially if you're only playing casually like I do. Here are my Cyberpunk 2077 benchmarks. Now, I've been on record as saying that, again, and I've already said this, that I prefer performance over FPS, especially true in single player games where I love ray tracing. I am a huge ray tracing fan, and you can see I have ray tracing on medium and I have DLSS off, and we are at 1440p and we're getting 41 FPS, and I haven't even tried to overclock the GPU, which is more than playable in my opinion. And I've played this game at 1440p and at 4K at that FPS, and I've had zero issues. And you can even see the minimum FPS is above 35 FPS, which is very important. Now let me show you in-game footage. I'm going to show you multiple different clips to give you an idea of what I can do. As always, the in-game footage gives you a little bit more FPS than the benchmark. So here's a view of Night City at night, just to showcase the ray trace effects. I think this is one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen. And you can see that we're getting 55 FPS, which is incredible. This game does sometimes get into the 60 FPS range, but you're mostly going to be looking at 40 to 50 FPS. I passed by a fight between 2 rival gangs at night, and you can see the ray traced effects, explosions, and a lot of things going on the map, and we're at about 39 FPS, which again is above the 32 FPS that we got in the benchmark. So overall, I am very, very happy with how this thing performs in games. You can try other games if you want, but like I said, I felt like these 2 games will give you a quick and dirty idea of how well this thing can to perform. And basically in 1440p, this $600 PC will do whatever you want it to do. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. This just goes to show that value can be had if you're willing to look in unexpected places. Again, the crypto mining market has collapsed. There are tons of cheap parts out there, from CPUs to GPUs to motherboards to graphics cards, and you don't even need a case, as I've proven. So thank you for watching this video, and please look to take advantage of all of these unexpected sources. Thank you again for watching. Please like and subscribe. I'm going to be trying to do a PC build probably every 2 or 3 weeks from now on to spice up the channel. So thanks again for watching. Thank you to PC Bros for sponsoring this video. Please like and subscribe for more content like this. Krootman out.